Greetings, peace be with you. So, in this video, I am going to be exposing the 4 primary pillars of the matrix. And once you understand what these pillars are, what the structure is that supports this matrix, that is when you can stop trying to escape it, trying to get rid of it, trying to move out into the wilderness, right? I mean, if that's what you're trying to do, go out to the wilderness and just be on your own without being a part of the system. All power to you, do that. But for most of us, it is not about so much as escaping the matrix and letting go of everything behind and just letting go of this world and letting go of the system, right? It's not that. It's more about mastering the matrix, and that really comes by understanding how the matrix actually functions, right? Now, first and foremost, just to clarify, to make sure that we're on the same page, what does the matrix mean to you? So, according to the movie, according to Morpheus, the matrix is the world of illusion that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth, right? And what is that first pillar that really holds the matrix up? That is, look, maybe I say some stuff that you don't fully agree with, okay? Don't agree with it, but think about it, because at the end of the day, the stuff is deep, man. It's running deep, and it's deep in the conditioning. And when we tend to go ahead and address this stuff, it's like there's internally just, some resistance comes into it, because like, shit, if I thought that something was true and I spent my whole life believing that was true, and now you're telling me that this is not true. How dare you say that? Because then all my previous decisions will be incorrect based on this new view, right? So at the end of the day, right, take what is useful, discard what is not, and add what is uniquely your own. But I believe that the primary structure, right, the first structure of the matrix is that of the modern education system, okay? Now, we can all, think about, okay, they taught us a bunch of stuff, right? They taught us a bunch of facts. Is that useful or not? Like, you can decide that. Maybe if you're a doctor, you're like, yo, I really got a lot of benefit from biology when I was a kid, and that really inspired my passion to help people and serve them through being a doctor, right? That's awesome for you, right? But just speaking from my personal experience and a lot of guys that I've talked to, and just, the clients that I've talked to, we go to the modern education system. Sure, there's like, they teach you something. I'm not going to talk about whether that's important or not, right? I'm going to talk about what they don't teach you, which is even more important. Why is it that they don't teach us about the fundamentals of nutrition in the modern education system? Why don't they teach us about meditation? Why don't they teach us about emotional intelligence? Why don't they teach us about how to deal more effectively with our emotions? Why don't they teach us about social dynamics? Why don't they teach us about financial education, right? It's like we spend our whole lives going to this modern not our whole lives, but like, going 12 13 years into high school, right? Then going to college, then going to university, then trying to get a job so you can get money, but never once, right, unless you specifically took a course, was any depth provided to the study of financial education, right? Now, on one side, it's like, oh, yeah, I wonder why. On the other side, it's like, this is specifically engineered to keep people in ignorance, right? There's 3 ways that the matrix functions to hijack you, right? Like the primary focus of the matrix, right, is to suck out the energy, right? It's to feed on the energy of low vibrations like fear, like shame, like guilt, okay? Now we can go on a whole different tangent on who created the matrix, why it's there, right? If you are more interested in learning about this, look up the works of David Icke, but that's not what we're talking about over here, okay? But it functions to hijack you mentally, physically, and spiritually. And by going through the first step, right, which is the modern education system, which so many of us go through, by they're teaching us what to learn, filling our head with what to learn, telling us to follow instructions, telling us to sit on our place, telling us to speak only when spoken to. And the ones that follow the instructions the best are the ones that are awarded. The ones that don't follow the instructions the best are the ones that are labeled as dumb or stupid or not going to amount to anything, right? And that's like what we go through as well. So the point is that the matrix really gets us when we're young, when we don't have that awareness to form judgments of our own, when we're picking up the ideas that are fed into us by external authority sources like the teachers, for example, right? And that can take a lifetime. It's like a conditioning that's there, and getting rid of it can really take a lifetime. But there's so many people waking up to the reality that the modern education system does not empower us with the skills, with the abilities to function and be of value in the real world, in the marketplace. Yet it gets us to the point where I'm going to go do all of this stuff so I can get a high paying job, but never once am I going to teach you what money even is, right? Think about that. Why that is the case, I do not think that it is a coincidence. I believe that it is specifically engineered. And if you want to dive deeper into this, Rockefeller has a quote, who I think the Rockefeller Foundation was a primary function behind the creation of the modern education system. And he said that I want a nation of workers. I do not want a nation of thinkers, right? The modern education system was created during the Industrial Revolution, whereby factory workers were being trained, right, to follow instructions. The better they followed instructions, the better they were, training them to be robots. And now we're being trained that same way, but we're kept ignorant and therefore easier to control and suck that energy out of, right? What is that energy? Like I said, it's a low vibration energy, because when we're ignorant of finances, when we're ignorant of how to take care of our health, when we're ignorant of how to form deep relationships, right, then that just keeps us in a low vibration energy, because what we intend to create is out of alignment with what we are actually creating. And that just causes a lot of chaos in our lives, right? So that's the modern education system, and they're all linked together, right? And how they come together is how this whole system is run and how this whole mechanism of control is created. Okay, now the second thing is the food industry. Okay, is it a coincidence that they are selling edible food like substances and hijacking our taste buds to get us hooked on these substances, which cause mayhem in the body, which cause chaos in the body, which hijack our biology, right? So it starts with hijacking the mind, right, and then hijacking the body through the food, right? And this is something they play on the cognitive bias, because we have been evolutionarily designed to go chase that, the spike of sugar, because we were living in environments where there was a scarcity of food, and we still have that programming. So these industries leverage this programming to get us hooked on these certain things, and then we get sick, right? Then we get sick, because we're stressed out, we are not at ease, we are at dis-ease. And then what happens is that the medical industry comes into it, and they hook us on something or the other to deal with this, right? Now, just as a disclaimer, which I should have shared earlier, this content is for entertainment and informational purposes only, right? Nothing that I'm sharing is actually true. It's just some stuff I'm saying, okay? Don't want my child to be getting shut down, so maybe I should have said that disclaimer in the beginning. But it's like, you get sick from the food, then you get sold the pills, pellets, gels, injections to deal with the symptoms, and then you give even more money, and eventually it all comes back to the primary structure, right, the foundation of this entire system, which is the financial system. Okay, because so many of us don't understand how the system actually works, like what is money, where does it come from, what is value, right? Think about these things, like why does anyone even pay for something? How can I generate income at the benefit of every party engaged? Like, how can I raise my own income while empowering someone else to do the same and leveling them up as well, right? And understanding how the tax system works as well, right? Like the fact that there's a lot of people, for example, to say, Trump didn't pay any taxes, or these big businessmen didn't pay any taxes. Yeah, well, that's not illegal. They just understand how the tax system works, because if you are generating income as a business, then you pay taxes after expenses, which means that you can just pay all the expenses and not pay any taxes, right? You're just growing, you're investing all the money into the business and growing it even more, and therefore not paying any taxes. And as an individual, as an employee, you are generating income, but you are being taxed before you pay your expenses. Because that's a huge difference over there, and that's, I think, the primary thing. But like understanding how this whole system works, how the tax system works, how money even works, right? So there's a book on the exposition of how the Fed was created. It's called The Creature of Jekyll Island, right? I think there's an interview with the author on valuetainment. Okay, definitely an important interview to check out. I'll link out to it below as well. But really, I think that is a primary structure of control, by keeping people ignorant of how the financial system works. Like, it's crazy, man. Like, I run ads on Facebook, on YouTube, and whatever it is, and I see comments sometimes saying, oh, you're capitalistic, you're trying to get money, like screw you, you're like, no one needs to pay for anything, why would anyone pay for this, right? Now I really have empathy for this person, because the fact that they are getting triggered when someone is, buddy's here again, hey dog, what's up, man? And when someone's getting triggered, right, then it's clear that there is some unaddressed stuff that is in the backdrop that is holding them back from creating the abundance that they want in their life, right? So it's not so much about escaping the matrix, it's about understanding how it works. And I think that the primary thing to understand, look at this dog, man, he's just like, yo. I don't know if you can see him, but yeah, it's not about escaping the matrix as much as it has become about understanding how it works, right? How does the matrix actually climbing all over me, man? He's like, yeah, it's not so much about escaping the matrix as it is about understanding how it works. And like I said, it comes down to understanding, you know, the fundamentals of health. That's something you have to educate yourself on yourself. Understanding the fundamentals of finances, right? How that works, how it's generated, what is money, how can I create more of it in my life, right? Understanding relationship dynamics. How can I cultivate deep, loving, passionate relationship with my romantic partner, with my friends, right? With my family. And then ultimately, like, you know, the spiritual warfare that is going on through all of this mainstream media, through the pornography, all of this stuff is designed to hijack on our mind, on our body, on our spirit. Once we have this awareness on what these structures are, how we can actually use them rather than get used by them, that is when we become the masters of this reality, right? That is when we can actually use these systems and elevate our experience that we have on this physical dimension. Because so many times, like, yeah, I don't care about the physical, I just want to transcend and ascend to another dimension and not care about anything. But look, this physical existence is a gift, okay? This experience and duality is a gift, okay? Because look, if you think about God as everything that is, right? God is everything that is, right? Most people would agree, yeah, God is everything that is, right? But everything that is can't experience what it is without experiencing what it is not. So we came here in this realm so that we can experience who we are by experiencing who we are not. And that is not possible in the realm of the absolute reality. That is only possible in the realm of relative reality, because through the experience of learning who we are, we can learn who we're not. Or through the experience of learning who we're not, we learn who we are, right? It goes hand in hand. And that is really the whole game over here. And yes, there's obstacles, and yes, there are dark entities that are holding us back from the truth of who we really are. But once we wake up and understand how these systems work, right, how these structures work, then we can educate ourselves on things that are actually important to us, on things that will actually elevate our lives. And the reason I have so much beef with the modern education system is because at this point in my life, it's like, I'm so curious. I've cultivated this love of learning. I'm always learning. I'm always growing. I'm always evolving. And I love learning. And the reason I have this energy against the modern education system is because by going through it, I developed a negative association with reading, with learning, with growth. I remember, like, there's like a reading assignment, I would go on Spark Notes and then just look up the notes for that and be like, yeah, I don't want to read, I'm just going to go on Spark Notes and read it, right? But now it's like, wow, man, that was just some conditioning to keep us in ignorance. And now that we wake up, we can take the power back into our own hands, right? Understanding the health, like what foods support you, which foods don't, like understanding all of this stuff is your responsibility. Taking care of your mind, body, and spirit ultimately is your responsibility. But it comes down to having that awareness to know the game that is being played so that you can become the player of that game as well, rather than getting played. Okay, so those are the four structures, right? The modern education system, the health system, the medical industry, and the financial industry, which really underlies all of it. And once we have an awareness of how these systems work, how we can use these systems to elevate ourselves, that is when we can stop trying to escape the matrix. Like, if you want to do that, there's a documentary of this dude in the Canadian wilderness who is just out there, and his wife is supporting them. And it's a hard life, man. It's not an easy life for sure. I don't know if it's cut out for everyone, okay? But if that's you, then all power to you. But most of us are going to be living inside the matrix, having this experience. So it's important to understand how it works so that we can master it as well. Okay, So with that, I'll conclude today's video. Leave a comment below letting me know your number one takeaway, what has been interesting for you. I love opening up the discussion. And subscribe if you have not already. Click the like button if you like it. But with all that being said, I will leave you in the peace and power of the one infinite creator, and I'll catch you in the next one. Much love to you. Take care.